Very special speaker today at the Cavan Military and Historical event is Tomi Reichental, and Tomi is one of the survivors, one of the last remaining survivors of Belsen-Bergen concentration camp. Tomi, you gave a talk in there and it was absolutely wonderful. You could hear a pin drop in the room. You held that room for an hour with your story, and of course your story is in here, it's in this book, I Was a Boy in Belsen. Compelling stuff. You told it and I read it in the book. Horrific. You were liberated at 9 years of age, but the trouble started when you were about 6. Things started to go wrong in your native Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. Well, it was in 1939 when the German invaded the Czech Republic, annexed Sudetenland, and imposed a puppet government in Slovakia, which was led by a Roman Catholic priest who was a big anti-Semite. His name was Joseph Tiso, and he also surrounded himself with nationalists and haters of Jews. And of course, once they got to power, the propaganda against the Jews started, and they blamed the Jews for everything that went wrong in Slovakia.
They imposed the most dreadful of things on you. They took your property from you, took your businesses from you, forbid you to work in your qualified jobs. One of the things you said today was you weren't allowed to cycle on a bicycle. Horrific stuff. You came through that. Then eventually they rounded the people up. They took your grandparents first. And I read in the book, and I have to say, it made me cry, the day they came to take away your grandparents. You sat there as a little boy, and you saw the guards coming to your door, and your grandfather's hand shook as he put on his coat. The ashen face of your grandmother as they walked down the street, knowing their fate.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I wouldn't have known anything about these things. I was a kid, you know, in 1942 I was 7-year-old. I wasn't told much, deliberately, because they didn't want to frighten me as a child. And I just was told they're going for a while away and they will be coming back, you know. Didn't cry. It was just a natural thing. And
when you look back years afterwards and you realise the story then, do you think that was the best way your parents had of dealing with it? Was that the best way for you?
Well, I'm sure it was the best way, because as a child I wouldn't even in the camp, when I saw all the horrors, it was difficult to grasp for a child. The crime that was committed there, I wouldn't have known. This is why, actually, children that survived the concentration camp, they survived it much better than the adult, because we didn't understand as much as the adult understood. I mean, it was horrific what we saw, but it was something that we didn't think in terms of crime. You know, we saw it as something that is happening to us. You know?
And indeed, it's all there in your book, I Was a Boy in Belsen, and I must say, when you're reading the book, you actually feel you are there. You were finally liberated from Belsen in 1944, and the British soldiers...
1945.
1945, and the British soldiers came to your rescue.
Yeah.
And that poignant picture that is in the book as well, of the little faces behind the barbed wire, and one of them is your brother.
Yeah, yeah.
So...
well, it's just amazing that we discovered it, first of all, because this picture is from a film. So we picked up that picture, but we only saw it like when and then suddenly said, that's my kid, that's my brother. And then we picked it up, and
You lost 35 members of your immediate family, and there are films about that. There have been documentaries made in Ireland about that. And but the most amazing part of your story is, Tomi, that you came to Ireland in 1960 from Israel, and you did not speak about any of this until very late in your life.
That's right.
Now, we were speaking earlier. Can you tell me how that came about?
Well, I mentioned that when I lost my wife in 2003.
Did she know the life you had lived?
She only knew that I was a Holocaust survivor, but I never told her. My children never knew about it either. They only found out about it when I started to talk and got interviewed and from newspaper. But the first time how the whole thing came about, that I actually started the process, was that one evening at a dinner with friends, we were sitting and nobody ever asked me, what did you do during the war, you know. And one of the gentlemen, they said, actually, what did you do, where were you during the war? And I said, you want to hear where I was? And I started to talk, and I told them the story that is in the book.
And that promotes the group, the Holocaust Education Trust Ireland.
Yeah, and one of the gentlemen said, I know who will be interested in your story. It was Lynn Jackson, who is
chairperson of
chairperson of Holocaust Education Trust. And next thing I get a phone call from her, and she came to the house, and I was telling her the story. I never forget about her. I was crying, she was crying, because even though it was all these years, at the time it was 60 odd years, it still was so fresh in my head that it was just difficult to talk about it.
You kept that quiet for almost 30 years.
Yeah. Over 50 years.
50 years you kept that quiet. When you lay in bed asleep at night time, like, what did you think of?
No, I thank God I survived it very well. I never had a nightmare or there was this, I have this attitude that I said I made peace with the past, so it does spoil my present, and that's what I did. It's what is happened. I don't carry any hatred. I in fact wanted to meet one of the jailers, and in the end I didn't succeed, and she was accused of killing 2 people, and she went through a trial, and she got 1 year prison term, but she wanted to meet me. When I discovered her and I wanted to meet her, she was agreeable to do it. But then when it's come to the crunch, that actually to meet me, she refused. And she refused because she gave many interviews to historians. She gave to the long interview to Bergen-Belsen archives, and she told all lies. And when it's come to meet her, she got a terrible fear that I might ask her something or tell her, what did you tell these people? Because she couldn't tell this to me. I was there, you know. So she just...
On one of the times you did go back, the Catholic priest who gave your family false papers so that you could flee from your home in Czechoslovakia, he saved you that time. You've had many saves in your life, but he saved you that time. You went back to his grave and thanked him.
Yeah, I did. And the priest at the time, you know, on the grave there was a picture of Father Harangos. I think it's in the book, maybe. I think it is in the book. And he took the picture of the stone and photographed it and gave me the picture of Father Harango. So yeah, I just went there where in my own way I sort of said thanks for what you did for us.
Your life is somewhat different now. You're a totally free man, and you're now doing a circuit. You're doing the circuit of Ireland. You've done the schools. You're making people aware of the horrors of Belsen, and you're talking, and you're bringing it to a modern day level where you're telling children about racism, and you're also bringing that into the context of bullying, which they're all oppressive behaviours of human beings, and that makes sense. But you're on a circuit of the world now. You're going to head to America soon, and you're going to go to the colleges there, and you're going to do your talks.
Yeah, I will be in Washington and New York, Long Island, Boston, and yeah, there is even talk that I might be in other places, but I can't mention it now. But yeah, it will be a very important trip. We will be showing my last film that I did, which is Condemned to Remember. And the film is very important from the point of what is happening with the refugees. And, you know, in America, I don't know how that will sound, because they're not very sympathetic. They have their own problem, and but it's very important that I leave a message there about it. It's very
So you kept quiet, as you say, for almost 50 years, and now you are telling your story. If somebody asked you, Tomi, in 2 sentences to say, why are you doing this? What is the legacy you want to leave? What would it be?
The legacy is, of course, first of all, I owe it to the victims that their memory is not forgotten, because I lost so many people myself. And that's my mission of remembrance that I do and speak, and that we don't forget the Holocaust, because if we forget it, history can repeat itself. And it is important that the young people know, and there are many that are trying to deny that the Holocaust even happened. And I always say, I mean, I spoke here in Ireland alone to over 100,000 students, and these 100,000 students told the parents, their friends, so many people heard my story. And if ever anybody will come to these students and say, you know, this is all Jewish propaganda, it's never happened, they will be able to say, it did happen, because we actually met somebody that was there. And that's the important thing. It's one way to learn about it in school, reading the book, but it's the other way to actually meet somebody, part of the history, that thing. So, whereas I didn't speak about it for over 55 years, now they can't stop me speaking about it.
And of course, read the book. Tomi, what can I say? Listening to you today was amazing. Everybody is amazed by you. It's amazing what you're doing now. You're making up for those 55 years. And can I only say that I am absolutely honoured to sit in your company.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for what you've done. Thank you on behalf of everybody. And I wish you the very best success with your up-and-coming tour.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.